Well, Rami Khouri joins me here in the studio. He's a distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut. Welcome back, Rami. Let's talk about the significance of UNRWA, that vital aid organisation, being forced essentially to make this decision, citing security and supply concerns. Of course, many people in Gaza dependent precisely on aid from UNRWA and other organisations.
Well, that's precisely why they're trying to shut it down. They want to squeeze the Palestinians in Gaza as much as possible to make life not only difficult but almost impossible so that they leave or die. I mean, the Israeli policy has been for a century almost to get Palestinians out of Palestine or push them to the edges so that they can have the state of Israel, the Jewish state, which is the raison d'etre of Zionism. They've achieved that in 1948. They achieved the state. But they keep doing this. They keep settling lands. On the West Bank, they burn olive groves. They destroy schools. And in Gaza, it's the most extreme example, which has been called a plausible genocide. And the UNRWA is central to this, because UNRWA is what provides services to I think it's about 4 or 5 million Palestinian refugees that are registered with it. Now, the Israelis think UNRWA gives the Palestinians the Palestinian identity. And if they get rid of UNRWA, the Palestinians will no longer be organized and ask for their rights in Israel, right of return, right of reimbursement, recompensation, whatever, statehood. But that's completely wrong. It's delusion, which a lot of Zionism is when it deals with Arabs. It's delusional. But this is exactly in line with what they've done for many years to squeeze UNRWA and try to replace it, have other people do things, but take away the centralized Palestinian identity issue.
Talking about UNRWA being squeezed, of course, only a few months ago, the organisation was stripped of funding by multiple countries after Israel launched this campaign against UNRWA, saying that it had links to Hamas, that members had been involved in the October 7th attacks. An independent investigation was launched at the UN. Nothing has been substantiated at all to stand up the Israeli side of that argument. I mean, to say that that organisation had faced challenges would be an understatement, wouldn't it?
You know, it's really one of the most dramatic, dynamic organizations, noble organizations in the world, but also one of the most difficult to work for, especially in Israel. If they're working in Jordan or Lebanon or other places, it's not quite as bad. But to work in the occupied territories is really very, very difficult. But they're adjusted to it. They have plans, emergency plans. About, I think, maybe almost half the funding has returned to UNRWA from countries that cut it off, but then resumed because they saw that the Israelis were essentially lying, which they do often. So this is an ongoing process. They'll come up with other reasons, and to push the Palestinians out, they're restricting the flow of aid, the humanitarian aid, very severely, and they'll come up with other reasons as well. And usually what they say, well, it's security, and nobody can question the security of Israel because of global, collective guilt and shame for the Holocaust, and that's still a very powerful tool that the Israelis use. But this is not being done because, they're Jews, like the Holocaust was. It's being done because they're a genocidal, occupying, apartheid, racist power. And many, many of the top global human rights organizations use these terms. So this is a political issue. It needs a political resolution. Neither side is going to destroy the other. Neither side can pressure the other to leave. And the Israelis don't seem to understand that.
Talking about the deliberate restriction of aid, one of the charges that have been directed against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defence Minister Yoav Gallant by the International Criminal Court that is seeking arrest warrants for both of those two men and 3 senior Hamas figures is that Israel has deliberately caused extermination, caused starvation as a method of war, including the denial of humanitarian relief supplies. I mean, what we are seeing, by the looks of it, play out on our screens with UNRWA's decision to do this is merely standing up this ICC case.
Oh, absolutely. And the ICC is super careful. They're not going to make a charge or start an indictment unless they're absolutely sure of what they're doing. If there's any doubt about it, they're going to wait. But the evidence is so overwhelmingly clear. And the Israelis are going to try to find ways with the Americans, maybe even the British, the two original colonial supporters of the Israeli Zionist project to eliminate Palestinians. They're going to try to get British and American support to somehow pressure the ICC to drop these charges or adjust them in a way that they don't actually go to trial, they're not arrested. Maybe they just issue a rebuke or something like that. We'll see what happens.
All right, Rami, many thanks. Rami Khoury there.